In this live self-defense workout and tutorial, you're gonna learn how to fight with sticks, or stick fighting for self-defense using the short self-defense stick. This one is, I think it's 16 inches. I forget, I didn't measure it, but it's not very long. You can see it's not as long as the other short stick, which I like to practice and have you train with, which is the collie or escrima stick. The first link below will give you more detail on this size stick, but this one is a lot longer. You can see it's about the length of my arm, and when you strike with it, there are slashing strikes that are very effective using this length of short stick for self-defense. Turning your body, coming from your shoulder, you can create a lot of damage and stop the fight. Fighting with sticks for short or self-defense using this length, the escrima or collie stick. And again, it's the first link below if you want to see the exact dimensions of what this is. This is made of hickory. This is for self-defense. But I want to talk about even shorter. Using this one here. Hello, Doug. Doug's in Canada. It's good to see you, Doug. The reason I want you to train with an even shorter self-defense stick is that you can pick up sticks anywhere in a non-permissive environment. That means an area that you go in that you're not allowed to carry any type of self-defense tool, whether it's one of these or any other obvious bladed weapon or any other tool that you would use for self-defense, other than your walking cane, which is always a great option, but we're not talking walking cane right now. In a non-permissive environment, in an area you're not allowed to carry a self-defense tool, you can create your own stick using a stack of paper, a magazine, and we're gonna do that at the end. I'm gonna show you a drill. I want you to practice this drill, and it's gonna be making you better at fighting with sticks for self-defense using an improvised stick. And this is kind of appropriate. This is Cecilina Gracie. She's the granddaughter of Helio Gracie of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu family. So this is kind of interesting. I just happened to, I was in a vitamin store that was going out of business. They had a whole stack of these. They were getting ready to throw them away. And I said, I'll take those. I'll train people how to use this for self-defense. I use these in all my self-defense classes. I'm gonna show you at the end. But we're gonna put that to the side and talk about a dowel rod you can get from any hardware store, do-it-yourself shop, and you're just gonna cut it down to about 12 inches or 16 inches, but don't go too long. It kind of defeats the purpose. I want you to get used to defending yourself when only thing that you have is something about this length. And I think you're going to have to focus on one type of technique, and that's gonna be the thrust. We'll do other techniques. I'm gonna show you some other ways to strike for self-defense, but I want you to focus on the thrust first. Getting in a good position with the hands up between you and the threat, you're simply going to extend your arm, turning your shoulders and hips, and reach. We're gonna call this the threat. This is the bag, and I'm gonna strike into his face for self-defense. Now you have to remember, this is not going to have as much weight behind it as that first stick that we were practicing with, the collie stick. And so this is effective, but not nearly as effective as this, because this becomes an extension of your arm. Now, if he has a bladed weapon, if the threat has something that can cut you or stab you, you'd rather keep him at a far distance, as far away as possible, and you're gonna accomplish that by turning through your shoulders and hips. That's always going to give you more reach. You're gonna have a better reach when you're turning your shoulders and hips. And if you don't have something to strike, practice this in the air. Grab your stick, make sure it's a nice firm grip. Always have a little bit here sticking out of the bottom. You're gonna learn how to use that to strike into his face, maybe into his throat for self-defense, into his nose for self-defense. You can bring it into his ear for self-defense, or into that neck on the same side of your body, or with a stronger strike coming across the body, striking here, and even coming straight forward. But that's the purpose of having a little here. Also, if he runs up behind you, you can turn and immediately stick that part right into his body, into the soft tissue, anywhere in the center line of his body, and you're gonna put him on the ground for self-defense, or turning into his ribs, breaking the ribs, coming into that neck, or even into his temple. Knock him out if you can for self-defense. So when you fight with sticks for self-defense using the short self-defense stick, you're going to focus on these reverse strikes using the bottom side or the back side of the stick, which is why you have a little bit sticking out. And then also those simple, basic, straight in thrusts. Now from this direction, your target is going to be the center line of his body. Think about this hard piece of wood. And again, I'm going to show you with an improvised stick, not even wood, but something that represents a stick, that you're going to create enough force going into eyes, his nose, his teeth, his throat, his solar plexus, under that sternum. Between here and here is a bone. You're going to avoid the bone. You're going to go lower, hit that soft tissue. And then between here and his private parts. That's all a good target area for you to practice striking. What I want you to do is get in a better position, your hands between you and the threat, and practice turning shoulders and hips and full extension of the arm. There's 3 things that you're going to use to stop him from coming closer to you. The first is a full extension of your arm. The second is turning your shoulders and hips to increase the reach and increase the speed and power you're delivering the strike. And the third is stepping with that. When you strike with a straight arm, you get a lot of power. When you strike with a straight arm and your shoulders and hips, you get more power. When you do it with a step, you get stopping power. Stop the fight power, stop him. Now the second strike I'm going to show you is also a thrust, but it's going to be a turning thrust. You're going to use this length here, and your arm is going to be straight, and you're turning shoulders and hips, and you're simply coming around the side from a different angle. When you practice this, you're going to feel that you're very strong in this position. Think about coming into his ribs, into his neck, into his temple, and knock him out. If you can knock him out, you can stop the fight. So your first is a straightforward thrust. Your second is a swinging thrust. The first ones you started with is coming down over the top or coming into the ear using the backside, coming behind you into his body, turning as you strike, always stepping to generate maximum force and power. Now, if you like to learn how to fight with sticks using the short self-defense stick, give me the thumbs up, please. And thank you for being here. Thanks for working with me. We're coming through this basic striking motion so that you can stop the fight, stop him using your stick. Now, I want to show you something I want you to practice at home. I need my magazine. I'm trying to pick it up with my foot. There we go. Again, she's got all crunched up. That's the granddaughter of the patriarch of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu fighting family. So it's kind of appropriate. She teaches self-defense out in California. It's appropriate, I think, California. But it's appropriate that she's on the magazine. Now you're gonna take your magazine, stack of papers, and it doesn't have to be a thick magazine. If you have a thin magazine, you can even put 2 or 3 together to get a stronger stick. But this is gonna be enough. It's a thin magazine, it's not very thick, but I'm gonna show you, you're gonna see it's very perfect for you to use for self-defense. Holding it against your body so you can get a good, nice, tight first fold. You're going to roll it as tightly as you can using both hands, rolling it down. Now imagine that you're in a situation where you're in a non-permissive environment where you're not allowed to carry any other self-defense tool, and someone comes in with a knife, an active threat situation, multiple attackers, more than one person. Maybe you're out to dinner, you're minding your own business, you're in an area like an entertainment district. There are usually magazines everywhere, a little throwaways, real estate magazines, coupon magazines. You pick up the magazine, maybe even a menu, and you're gonna roll it as tightly as you possibly can. All of these are in the back of the plane, right? You got a ton of these. Those plane, the Sky Mall, you rip it in half and then you got 2 sticks, 1 for each hand. You're gonna make it as tight as you can, and then you hold it. Again, remember, you have some of that coming out of the bottom, that's to strike with. You're gonna see immediately when you practice your strikes that this is gonna hit very hard. Now here's the drill. This is gonna be very important. This is a funny, weird tip that comes from When Violence is the Answer by Tim Larkin. He talks about using principles of self-defense. Number 1 being situational awareness. Always pay attention. Number 2, getting in a better position. I don't know what his order is. This is my order. But number 3, asking yourself the question, what can you remove or destroy? But he talks about in his book a story of felons, criminals in the penitentiary, and they would practice certain moves over and over again so that when they didn't know what it was at first, he says in the book. He says later they come to find out that they were practicing stabbing the prison guards to get through their new protective gear. And he has a whole thing about how they figured out what the right way was to do it. And then they created kind of like a kata in traditional martial arts. Kata is just choreographed moves. They practiced a series of choreographed moves to then penetrate and be effective when they had to fight with the guards. Now I want you to take that evil thing that they did and use it for your purpose, for self-defense, and think about creating a simple striking pattern that you can practice over and over again. So if you have to use your improvised stick for self-defense, using your self-defense, your short self-defense stick to hit somebody with, to stop them from getting in and hurting you, practice first a thrust into the solar plexus, or between the belly button and the privates, into that thin fascia that keeps someone up. You get that in there, step hard enough, you're gonna put them on the ground. So get your better position, thrust 1, thrust 2. Maybe start with the face. Make up your own routine, but I want you to practice a simple routine. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whatever it is that you want to practice, but think about what your targets are. Think about hitting him in that muscle that's going to make him fall to the floor, hitting him in the throat, coming around to his neck, hitting this nerve processes in his neck. Is going to flush the blood out of his brain. He falls like a sack of poo onto the ground that he is, right? Into the neck, into the ribs, into the soft tissue under the ribs. So you can start 1, 2, 3, 4, and then maybe finish off with 5. But practice a routine over and over so that when you have to use this for self-defense, you have practiced the moves that are going to keep you healthy and safe and keep you protected when all you have is a magazine, which represents that short fighting stick. So get a stick, like I said, cut it down 12 to 16 inches. I wouldn't go too much longer than that. Practice basic thrusts, and if you don't have something to hit, you can strike in the air and practice them over and over. Find some magazines. Next time you're out and you see the magazines, you don't have to read them if you don't want to, but maybe you're in a doctor's office. They all have magazines, right? You find yourself in a situation where you're not able to bring a self-defense tool with you, you make your own. You have your rolled up stick, but you have to have simple striking techniques, simple training that works for you, and then you have to practice it over and over again. So get something, put in the comment section below what you use, maybe what your favorite strikes are, what works for you, so that we can share with each other in this self-defense community, this virtual self-defense training dojo. Put that in the comment section below, and maybe also put down, where do you find your magazines? Where do you see magazines? What else works besides a magazine? It doesn't have to be a magazine. What other sticks can you find? Improvised self-defense tools. Maybe it's a little bit longer, maybe it's a little bit shorter. But let's share, keep this community discussion going. You guys have been awesome. I'll see you on the next one.